Welcome back to another episode of Jason's Life in 5. Today is Saturday, June 27th, 2026, and I am out in the West Desert of Utah. I am probably about 70 miles west of Salt Lake City, and out here, this is famous for the Bonneville Salt Flats. People come out here and made movies. They have attempted land speed records, but not only that, they have made strange sculptures. Just off of Interstate 80, heading west towards the Nevada border, this is a sculpture that was made by the Swedish artist Carl Moman, not to be confused with the religion Mormon, which is kind of funny that it's just in this area. But this is a sculpture that was dedicated in 1986. I think it was built actually in earlier than that, but it was dedicated in 86. And I've always thought it was a strange object as you come down the interstate. You can see they have pieces of fallen tree. I don't know if there's supposed to be fruit that have fallen, or if it's parts of the tree, or just some other randomness. But I remember the first time I came out west and drove out towards Wendover, is the town we're actually headed towards. And as we're coming down the horizon, I saw this structure and I thought, what is that? Because if you look, there's nothing around. It's just flat, salt flat desert. And you come down the horizon and you start to see this thing rise, and it is just a really surreal feeling. And you can see there is literally nothing else out here. This is the middle of nowhere. And this artwork appears to have inspired others to bring their creations. You can see we've got a Christmas tree. Considering it's June, it's a little early. And then you've got some card symbols. I don't know if this is because we're getting near Nevada where you can gamble. Why we've got the heart and the club. Don't know. But it does say, in the end, hard work will always beat good luck. Now you can see they have a fence that encircles the structure. I think it's to protect people from maybe falling tiles, is what I read online. You can see there's tiles on the balls up there. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's to protect the sculpture from people getting out there. Not really sure. But gives you an idea of the oddness of this sculpture. Now, I don't know if you're supposed to go in here. The gate is open. So we'll quickly come up here and take a look, because there is a plaque. Then we'll get on our way. We actually have a bigger destination we're headed to today. The Tree of Utah, Metaphor by Carl Moman. Completed January 1986. A hymn to our universe whose glory and dimension is beyond all myth and imagination. All right, well, we are gonna continue heading west out towards Wendover. This has been here, I guess, 40 years now? 1986, today's 2026, so yeah. But this is not the oldest site we're gonna see. It's actually probably the youngest of the big three items that we're gonna really check out today. So let's get back on the road. Today we're driving west on Interstate 80 from Salt Lake in the direction of Nevada. We're actually driving to the border town of Wendover. Now, most local people in Utah, when they think of Wendover, those probably most of the people who've heard of Wendover, they think of gambling. That's why most people go out there. There's a few casinos. It's the closest place, and they're literally right as you cross the border. You got the big casinos. But there's actually a lot of history out in the area of Wendover, and those are the sites we're going to see. We're not going there for gambling. Just just getting up and living through a day is the only gambling I plan on doing. So yeah, we're gonna go out and check out some history out here. There's some World War II sites as well as before then that are really, I think, kind of historical markers through the American journey. So let's keep heading west on the Salt Flats. Now when you come out here to the Salt Flats and you look, it's just a vast, flat, white, up until you see the mountains in the horizon there. And it's just kind of a surreal experience because, it looks like snow, but it's not. It's, it's really kind of a hard salt crust. They said that at the thickest points that the salt is approximately 5 feet thick. So it's hard to imagine, salt that's, probably this high just all the way through. It's not incredibly large. I think it said like 12 miles by 5 miles is the actual Bonneville Salt Flats, but I'm surprised actually. When I've come through here before, I haven't seen so many people out here visiting, but there's quite a few people walking out on the Salt Flats, milling around. Yeah, definitely kind of a neat place to check out. So out on the Salt Flat, just down from the parking lot, you can see this, I don't know, concrete cube. I don't know if it was a pillar for something, but you can just see how the salt has really kind of attacked it and corroded and eroded that. Definitely not a very forgiving environment. They have this marker that was erected by the Goodyear Tire Company in June of 1972, talking about the world land speed record runs that have been here. All right, well, after venturing a little bit onto the Salt Flats, we're actually going to head a little bit further west into Wendover and our main destination of the day. Now, I'm still in Utah, but you can certainly tell the moment that you cross that line. They even have it painted right on the ground. Now we're in gambling country. As I mentioned, we're not actually here to go into any of the casinos. We're actually going to stay on the Utah side and go down to check out kind of, I think, one of the hidden gems of Wendover, frankly. It's somewhere I've not ever been. I'm excited to go see. So let's check it out. Now, I know I said the sites we're going to see are on the Utah side, and I guess I kind of lied because you can see the casinos there. But right here outside, just as you cross the border, there's a little park. They've got the Nevada Welcome Center, which isn't open on the weekends, which is kind of strange, so not very welcoming today. But this is a monument we had to stop and see. This is a monument to the 509th Composite Army Air Force Group. They were stationed here at the Wendover Airfield. That's where we're going to go check out next. And this is the group that trained in 1944 and 1945 during World War II to basically get ready to drop the atomic bomb. And that's what this marker here is for. It's for those people. You can see up at the top there is the sculpture of the Enola Gay, which was the plane that dropped the bomb over Hiroshima. And then there's a quote at the bottom from Harry Truman, talking about the responsibility we have with this atomic bomb and not letting it run free in the world. Yeah, many people aren't aware that Wendover was actually quite pivotal in the period of World War II. They had a large airfield out here, the Wendover Airfield. That's where we're going to head next. And like I said, that's where they prepared for the atomic bomb. And I've never actually been out here before. I've wanted to come out, just haven't made it. And I'm excited to get out there today and see. They actually had an event where they were going to have a B-29 that was going to be out here from World War II. But unfortunately, I guess at one of the last air shows, they had engine problems. But they are still going to have additional military vehicles and other things to see, tours. So I'm excited to go to the base and see if we can learn a little bit more about the time when there was, I think it was over 20,000 troops stationed out here. You come out here now, I don't think there's that many people in town, but definitely a different time. Back over on the Utah side, you can see the Airfield Museum is straight ahead. So the museum is housed in the old officers club, and when you come in, they have a number of displays. We've got a little video you can watch to learn some history about the Wendover airfield. But they have the old, I guess this is like the old dance hall. Certainly what it looks like. You can see there's a second layer up there. But the walls are lined with different photographs and artifacts. One of the big things is over here in the corner, they have a replica of the Little Boy bomb. This is the one that was dropped by the Enola Gay over Hiroshima, so the first atomic bomb used in warfare. And it's done to scale of the original. And one of the things that's kind of interesting is it's actually signed by a number of the crew members, including the pilot and the leader of the crew, Paul Tibbets. He's listed prominently in a number of places throughout the museum, and you see his photograph and autographs in different places. So yeah, kind of a neat little thing. You get to see some of the artifacts, some of what was going on here at the time of World War II. Now this became an active airfield. It was designated, I believe, in 1942, and used for the war to prepare people, to go out on bombing runs that went over to Europe, went over to, the Pacific, and really help in that World War II effort. So they do have some neat artifacts, such as, old photos of the atomic bomb. They've got medals of some of the soldiers, some equipment. These old oxygen tanks signed by some of the crewmen that used it. Actual bombing sites. So really kind of some neat stuff. And then they've got displays around the perils of training, because even though you're training doesn't mean you can't have accidents. And there were, pilots and crew that were lost, unfortunately, due to accidents. They also have a diorama showing how they loaded the Enola Gay with the bomb. They had the special trenches there. And then, just some more additional things with photographs and, some of the propaganda that they had at the time. And they have displays upstairs as well as down where you can just learn more about the history. Now they do have mannequins throughout the museum, and they're displaying some of the clothes of the World War II period, but some of them, I'm not sure they fit. Aren't you a little short for an army soldier? They don't have just the men, they also got the women. Do we like them better with or without a face? It's kind of weird. Now after the museum, we can actually head out. There's a couple of sites on the base that are still open where you can go and visit. Some of the items I think are only open if you go on a tour. But we're gonna go out and check out some of those other ones. Hopefully it's not too windy. It was windy as I was coming in, but we'll do the best we can. What you hear here, what you see here, when you leave here, let it stay here. I don't think the museum wants me to do that. They probably want us to share this. I think that's a replica from World War II. But I think it's kind of funny to have it outside of a museum where they're trying to get more of the word spread around what they're doing out here in their restoration efforts. So you see the air traffic control tower, and then I believe it's this little building here next to it that she said we could go in and see some other displays. Now I didn't see anything blocking you from going up the stairs, and I was wondering if you could go up, and I see this sign here. It says that you can go up, and it also says it's at your own risk, and I must be this tall. So I think I'm good. Maybe we'll go up there. That's kind of cool. As I'm just starting up the tower, they have some old vintage military vehicles driving onto the base. Well, that was an unexpected surprise. Now, I don't know when I get up here if I can go in anything or if I just get up there to a door and turn around and come back. Maybe I just get to go up and take a look around, but there's a number of steps still to go. Well, we've made it to the top of the tower. I think it said it's 60 feet up. You can definitely tell we are ways up. And you got a good view out there. And looking down towards the east, there's the airplane I believe we'll be able to go into. And then we've got 5 different hangars or buildings along the airstrip here. I believe that curved one on the end might be the Enola Gay hangar. So right here at the base of the tower is the operations building. I believe this is the other room we can go in. Looks like in here they have the Hall of Honor. You can see they have this old flag. Would have been the active flag in use during World War II with 48 states, because Hawaii and Alaska had not been admitted. They've got lots of photos and exhibits in here. They talk about the gunnery training. Evidently this was one of the best training facilities, at least during World War II. And then they've got some great photos of the front of some of the planes. You can see Colonel Paul Tibbets, again, as we talked about him earlier. But it's kind of funny, you can see there definitely was, I would say, a male preference in the art that was drawn on the front of the aircraft. The additional exhibits, show just more of the artifacts of the day, some of the publications, the GI Movie Weekly, where they would transport the films to the base. And then, down in this hallway, just some more examples of some of day-to-day life. We're down at that aircraft that I mentioned earlier, just across from the tower, and this is a C-123, and if you look at it, I don't know if you can tell, it says United States Marshal. It's kind of faded up there. This is actually not from World War II. This is a movie prop, and this is from the movie Con Air. So this is actually the aircraft they used, at least for, the shots of the aircraft. I don't know that they actually flew in it. It sounds like they may have made some modifications inside. We'll go check it out. But this is from the movie, and I guess it's just sat out here ever since the movie came out. So what is that, like 20 years or something? And you can see that it's probably seen better days. I hear pieces of metal rattling when the wind comes by. So, but it is kind of a neat thing. You can just walk out, check it out. There's not really a sign that mentions that. There is a bench that mentions something about Con Air, but it doesn't say specifically about this aircraft, but kind of a neat thing. You can see on the nose art, the jailbird. I can't be 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain that is not the regulation seat that came from the manufacturer. Look at me, I'm flying Jailbird 1. Woo! Keep it down back there, prisoners. Now you can certainly see that it's pretty gutted as far as the aircraft, but it is kind of cool to check this out. Who knew? Final look at the Jailbird 1. You can see. Here's that bench I was mentioning. Get a little history. The bench does mention other movies that are made here, or were made here, I should say. And probably the most notable one is Independence Day. And I didn't realize that was out here. So. Now this sign is for one of the first hangars that is along the airfield here, and it's the Bomb Squadron hangar. And it says that 4 of these hangars were built in 1942 and 43. And this is where they housed many of the the planes, and they're trying to get it restored and replace some of the windows just so they can keep that building alive and not lose the history. So driving down here along from the first hangar, you can see we start to run into some of the other hangars. And we saw those, you know, when we were up on the tower. You can just see how they kind of run along here. Very similar structures to each other. But the big one I want to see is down the way. And has a different look for sure, is what I understand. Now we're down at what it was the largest building on the base. It's actually the only one with a steel vaulted roof hangar. It is either the Atomic Mission Hangar, or they also refer to it as the Enola Gay Hangar. This is built to accommodate the larger B-29s because of the vertical tail. And this is actually where they housed the Enola Gay before, you know, when they were running the test missions and dropping the test bombs, which they called pumpkins. They were the kind of recreation of the bomb that they used in runs to get ready, really, to go and use it. So I don't know that it's open, but we'll go up and take a look, see if it's able to go in and take a peek. The door is locked. However, you can see there's some pretty cool things, it looks like, in there. Some old vehicles. See the wing, or the tail, I should say, of an aircraft. Too bad that's not open. And across the street from the Enola Gay hangar, you can see a number of the old barracks, it looks like. All of those seem to be falling into states of disrepair, unfortunately. It's only a matter of time before some of these structures are lost. I think the power of Mother Nature and the elements are hard to overcome. It looks like there's rows of buildings that are probably already gone here in the foreground. I had to make sure I came back over to check out these old military vehicles. Those are pretty freaking cool. I gotta be honest, this ambulance kind of makes me feel like I'm in an episode of MASH. But yeah, it's neat to see these driving around and restored. I returned back to the museum because I wanted to ask them if there's ever opportunities to go into the Enola Gay hangar. And she said that they do have a tour in the afternoon every day. It's about an hour and a half, and they do take you in there. And I was debating going. I actually have some other things I need to get done this afternoon, so I don't think we're going to hang out for that. But it would be neat to come back because they're trying to restore that into a museum. So I think that's going to do it for our visit to the historic Wendover airfield. However, that's not the end of our visit to historic Wendover. So let's get to our next site. We're actually still in Utah, barely, but the next site is here. It's actually on the grounds of the Montego Bay Casino. And it's this old wooden pole. And you might be wondering, what is up with this old rotted wooden pole? Get to the top, you can see it looks like a telephone line. Well, that's exactly what this is. So this plaque here tells us that on June 17th, 1914, so what is that, 112 years ago, the first transcontinental telephone line was completed on this spot on the border of Utah and Nevada. It says the Bell Telephone Company of Nevada and the Mountain States Telephone and Telegraph Company met here, making the last splices in the wires which join east and west in voices to communicate for the first time. So, kind of cool. This predates even the World War II base. There's history out here in Wendover. This is where, for the first time, people in the West Coast were able to talk to people in the East Coast. I can't imagine it was cheap to do. Probably not easy, but it is a cool thing. And a piece of history I think a lot of people are not aware of. Headed back towards Salt Lake, east on Interstate 80. I'm at the rest stop. That's basically the opposite side of the other one. This one has a different marker. This was actually the first one I remember from when I came through years ago. I don't think I've been out to Wendover maybe for 10 years, but this one, it talks about the first transcontinental telephone line, and I remember seeing that, and it's actually not here. It's back in Wendover where we saw it, but it's telling people it was close to here. And this one is better than the other one in that you've got a little ramp you can go up and I guess get a better view of the salt flats. So when you come up here, you do have a good view of the salt flats. Still see lots of people milling around out there, ruining shoes and clothing alike. And big trucks on the interstate passing them by. The view looking back the other way, it's not quite the same. It's just not as good, I don't think. So yeah, I think that is going to do it for our adventure today out in Wendover and the historic sites. Thanks for joining me. I wanted to send a huge shout out to Arizona Mike. I know he has enjoyed some of the videos in the past. I think he particularly liked the Prague hot orange juice. So yeah, I figure maybe I'll try to give a shout out to people who comment in the videos. So if you put in a comment, maybe you'll get featured in a future video. So thanks for watching, but until the next time, happy travels.